Okay, so I signed up for this tournament that plays at the Berkeley Chess Club. So I'm in the Bay Area, in California. I know you're in the UK, so that's probably far away. It's the GM Walter Browne tournament. It's in honor of GM Walter Browne, who was active in like the 60s and 70s. Really cool, interesting guy. He played like poker and chess like a long time ago. Um, I signed up for it because it's like one G90 plus 30 games, so 90 minutes each plus 30-second increment per turn. And I show up to this tournament, and I was just like, oh, I'm looking for something to do on Friday nights because like I've been playing tournaments on like either Saturday or Sunday, and like once a month I play like a Saturday and Sunday, like really big tournament. So I was like, oh, I can do something. I can play like a game on Friday nights. That'll be fun. The rated games. It'll be neat. And just playing one game at once will be relaxing because normally I have to play like two or three, sometimes four, and it's exhausting. Like absolutely, like just mind-fuckingly exhausting. I had no idea how exhausting it would be. So I get there, and it turns out that like the pairings are. I had no idea. This is literally like the craziest tournament I've ever played in terms of that. Like, I can read out like, okay, so there is an IM, Elliot Winslow, an international master in this bracket. A 1733, a 1976, a 1600, a 1900, me, an 1877, a 1785, a 1741, and an 1813. So, I am 981. So basically, I signed up to learn a lot. And by learn a lot, I mean get fucking crushed. Which is fine. I'm totally down with it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn a ton. Um, let's go. Let's fucking go. I was excited, you know? And it was exciting. It was really cool. Playing in 1900 was super cool. He's obviously a lot fucking better than me. 1,000 points better than me almost. And I fully expected to lose. And that's totally okay. Then that's what happened. I lost in 18 moves. So, but let's go through it. I can talk about what I was thinking about and the things that I learned from the game. And I think this will be a fun thing to follow weekly as I go. So yeah, so he opens with d4, and I always play the King's Indian against it. It's the only thing I really know, which sucks because the King's Indian at high levels is very complicated, and I don't know it that well. I know it well, but it's not like I feel like I know a Sicilian a little bit better than I know a King's Indian. Either way, I go into my King's Indian because I definitely don't know d5. I really don't play d5. So I go into my King's Indian, and he plays knight f3, which is already unusual for me. He thought about this for like 3 or 4 minutes. I'm almost always used to seeing either c4, like the most common thing that I'm used to seeing is c4 followed by knight c3, which would be like this, followed by this, and then this, right? Like this is really common. Then this comes out, then this comes out. This is like a super common thing that you see. But I don't really know what to do, so I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to keep going with g6. Then he plays e3, which is like super passive and very weird, and I had no idea what I was supposed to do about it. So again, I just like default to what I know. And then he goes bishop d3, which, okay, this is looking more like a pseudo-Londonish thing, but it's not. It's a Kali system. But like, I don't really play the Kali system, so I don't really know what the Kali system is. I don't know how to play against it, so I was just like, all right, let's just play d6, because that's what we play. Now, of course, it wants me to play c5 and just attack the center. But again, I've never played the Kali system, so I don't know at all. And this is what I'm talking about when I said like I have to work on my my black repertoire, because I know my white theory pretty well, but I don't know my black nearly as well. So it's something I need to work on. I understand that. So he castles, I castle. That seems great. And he goes knight bd2, right? At this point, I really don't know like what I'm facing. I've never faced the Kali system in real life. But as I thought about it, right, like some common moves are this and this, sometimes even c5. And I came up with the idea that, look, he has no pressure here. Normally there's a pawn here or there's a pawn here. And so going knight c6 is a bad idea. But in this case, I felt like I could go knight c6 because this isn't really pressure. I can go here and he can take, I can take, or he can go here and I can just move. I can go here and threaten this and then come back and take it, right? So I was like, okay, I was comfortable playing knight c6. It turns out that I found the right move, which is awesome. It makes me feel good because I haven't faced it. So I was just kind of winging it as I go. And then he plays bishop b3, or sorry, he plays b3. I'm like, okay, so he's going to fianchetto his bishop. And what I'm used to in the King's Indian, obviously the Kali is different, but the way most people play the King's Indian, where this goes here, the knight goes here, this pawn is here, right? The way it usually is these pieces are all trying to sort of make their way over here. Or this will come over here, and these are, you know, aiming down, and then the queen will aim down, and they're going for a queenside attack, and they push their pawns. And me in response, I'm trying to push these pawns and get everything over here and go for a kingside attack. And that's like kind of what I was expecting, but it wasn't happening, right? Because this is a clear sign that he wants to have things attacking my kingside, right? He's already brought this knight over, right? So I'm like, okay, I honestly don't know what to do. So I just go with my standard plan. Again, I just default to a standard plan, which is I'm just going to try and push e5. Because I know e5 in general is like a pretty good move. Looks like rook e8 is actually the second best move, so I'm still happy with that, right? But what I didn't see is that like knight b4 is really good. That like it wants me to go knight b4. Because knight b4 is threatening this light squared bishop that's just kind of sitting there, and it would double his pawns over here. Right, and he doesn't really have anywhere to go with it. If he goes back here, that's super passive. If he comes out here, that doesn't really do much, right? I can block that pretty easily. He can't really go here with it. He would get stuck. So he has to kind of go there. I mean, I guess he could go here, but again, we have the same problem, right? I can block this. This loses this forces a trade. It's just like, it doesn't make sense. Well, this would just lose it straight up, right? But I would obviously trade this. Anyway. I mean, I didn't see this at this time. I was still just kind of confused. So I went rook e8, which is, like I said, the second best move. So I'm not upset. So he fianchettos his bishop, which I fully expected. And I did a quick calculation. Like, okay, does this make it so that I can't do this? Like, if I go here and right, he takes, I take. If he takes, I take, and he takes, and I take. And I'm like, okay, we're fine. Let's go. I do it, and he just meets it with e4, which I knew was a bad move, but I really didn't know why or what I was supposed to do about it, which made it actually kind of difficult, because I was like, I really don't know what to do here. And apparently e takes d4 is the move, right? Because e takes d4 leads to like a trade in the middle here, and that's okay for me, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with this. This is fantastic. We're happy, life is good, kind of jolly dandy, whatever. I didn't know this. So I played a6 because what I was thinking was, okay, maybe what he wants to do is come over here and pin my knight to the rook, so that he can then take, and then, you know, I would take back and he can take, and then, right, if I take like this, then I'll take like this. Again, yeah, I mean, I was just worried about that, right? And that's only possible because I should have just taken d4, right? That just stops it entirely. So I do this, but apparently it just wants me to, it wants me to take. I didn't. He goes rook e1, and I make this move. And my thinking here was, this adds a defender here, right? So I don't have to worry so much about any kind of pins, right? I now have 3 defenders. And B, this opens up this, because what I wanted to do was attack this light squared bishop, right? So I was thinking, okay, cool, we're good, we got a plan. And then he does this, and I just get really fucking confused. I ironically, it's saying that knight f4 is the best move here. But I just like am so confused at what he's trying to do. Because I'm like, okay, now he blocked in his bishop. Like, what's happening? Like, I mean, I guess that makes up for this so that I can't take. But it's still saying e takes d4 is the second best move. And my move was the best move. Now, of course, like, again, what I did was, I don't know what to do. So I reacted the way I would. I play like my most standard game. And here I learned a really big lesson, right? Normally, what I'd want to do is push f5. And I want to push f5 because I want to push my pawns. But something I learned is that if the position isn't closed, I think he wanted a rock solid and his bishop isn't really trapped. Yeah, that's true. But when I push, normally it's because they do this first and I've already gone here. And so I've got the knight here, I've got the bishop here, and I push here, and yes, I'm opening up my king, but this is locked. So the king is kind of blocked. But what I ended up doing is not realizing the difference between a closed center and an open center. This is still a very closed center. Or a very open center. So there's a lot of threats to be had that there wouldn't be if this had closed down. So I made the very big mistake of panicking. And instead of doing the things that I said I should do, I just pushed. Because that's what I'm familiar with. But again, I'm only familiar in pushing when this is closed. And it wasn't. And here I learned my lesson because he takes, I take, and, you know, it still wants me to go f4. It also wants me to e takes d4, right? These moves are still here. And the other one is to just take this with my bishop. Because at least if I take on my bishop, it forces him to trade here. I totally missed this tactic, which was really great, right? Awesome tactic. I take back here. He takes here. He's got like a pretty intense threat on my king. Or he's got his pieces lined up in front of my king. I don't have much defense here. If I take back here, I'm in trouble. And here's where I wanted to go knight f4. Let me just say, at this point, I was starting to get really nervous. Because I realized that I had sort of bumbled into a tactic. I recognized it. And so what I thought was, okay, if I go here, he goes here, I take, he takes, I take with check, so he moves here, then I take his queen. And I'm thinking, okay, in that resulting position, though, he takes my knight, and I have no way of winning, way of winning his rook. Now, this isn't true, because I can go here, which threatens it this way. And whatever, if he comes back up here, he gets lost. If he can't take that, he can't take this. So, like, it's not actually true. I can win his knight back. But in the heat of the moment, I panicked. And I was like, knight f4, which I still wanted to do. I was like, that fails. Now, granted, it probably wouldn't have gone that way. And I realize it now. So I thought, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go here. He will take here. And then I'll just block. And we'll be fine. Because what I was concerned about was, okay, I was thinking, okay, if I go here and he takes here, then I can take here and threaten his rook. But then this bishop bites me in the ass. Because if I take here, then he takes here, I take, and he takes my queen with almost mate, right? And I'm down a queen. So I was like, okay, that doesn't work. So I was like, okay, so because that doesn't work, and I'm going to be stuck here, I'm going to have to take, he'll take, and then I'll just block. And I thought, okay, that position's okay, right? I'm down a pawn or two. I'm down a pawn, but it's no big deal. We'll survive. It'll be okay. So I take, he takes, I take, and I totally miss this idea where I'm thinking, okay, cool. Now I can fork the queen and the bishop. Sick. And he has no way of defending this bishop. So we're in fantastic shape. And if I come here and he goes here, I take and he goes here, like that's also okay because I come here and I fork I fork the queen and the rook and the bishop. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be great. Like we're in a great position. We're not in a great position. Um, it looks more than just +2 winning for someone playing black. Yeah, no. So I thought, okay, that's fine. That's all well and good, but we still have the problem if I move this knight to fork, he has this check and still wins my king. So my thinking is, I just have to get my bishop here. Once I get my bishop here, then I can fork. So I move my bishop here, and I'm like, sweet, I've got it. We're good. We're fine. And he goes here, and I'm like, that's a mistake. I get to fork now. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, no, it's not, because there's a check. So I sat there for a minute, and I thought, and I thought, and I thought, and I thought, and I was like, shit, I fucked up. So then I thought, okay, second plan of action. I go like this, kick the knight out. If he takes my knight, I take his knight. It kind of forces a queen trade. If he queen trades, we're fine. We're totally okay, right? If you look at the evaluation here, if I were to do this, I was totally right? It's like 0.9, right? I'm like, okay, that's what I should do. This makes sense. And if I go like this, and he like moves his knight or something, then like this is all fixed. So I can, well, he wouldn't do it that way. You go like back here. But I'm like, this is all fixed. Like now I can fork, right? Because if he does this, I can take, and if he takes, then I can take, and I can take. Like we're fine. Like this is what I kept thinking. But at every move, he outsmarted me, of course. And somehow I just missed the fact that he had this check. The game's almost over here. I had 2 moves left. There was a couple of things that I could have done. But I panicked so hard that I actually moved my king to h7, which was really embarrassing. I've never done anything like that. I think it was the idea of playing a 1900 over the board just made me really nervous. But I actually moved my king to an illegal square. And he just kind of looked at me and was like, and he just like pointed, it was like, and I was like, oh man, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. So I go there, which, obviously I had a better option, to go here. I mean, I still lose my queen, for a rook, but at least the game is playing. I mean, then I'm going to lose this. So like, I am losing either way, but I panicked and I just went there. He went here, and I sat there for like 15 seconds, just like, wait, do I have any moves? I can't go here. I can't go here. I can't go here. Can I stop it? Can I block it? And then like after like 15 seconds, I'm like, oh man, I'm so flustered. I didn't even see its mate. And I look up and I'm just like, is this just mate? And he's like, yeah. I was like, all right, good game, man. Thank you. But he was so sweet, and he was like, thank you so much for the game. I really appreciate it. Da, da, da. Really nice guy. And like, big learning lesson, huge learning lesson. And there's a couple of learning lessons here. One is that like, if the position's not closed, the position is not closed, I cannot open my king. It's just a bad idea, right? There's too many tactics. This becomes completely wide open, right? The position's not open, I can't do it. The other thing is, I need to follow my instincts. I wanted to go f4 to attack this bishop. I never did, right? Attacking this bishop would have solved so many of my problems, because even with an open king, if he doesn't have a light squared bishop, I'm actually still kind of safe. And then the last thing is to calculate all the way, right? That to understand that like this into this to this to this to this. Sorry. Takes here, takes, that this doesn't like just automatically lose the game. I mean, it's bad. It's not good thinking, but it doesn't automatically lose the game. And then also to realize that like that didn't have to happen, right? That like I can go here and threaten this, and if he goes here, I can just take, right? Because now he has to go like here. Right, which is, we're like 1.1 right now, 1.2. This is a close game. There was no reason for me to freak out. I don't know why I panicked and thought that like, if I go here, like we have to like trade off everything, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. We don't have to do that. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like what I'm doing in over the board, because you have a lot of time, right? So I took like, when I'm sitting here and he plays this, I took like 20 minutes to play the move. But you're still trying to do it in your head, and you don't have arrows, right? And like that makes a big difference, not having arrows in real life. So you're sitting there and you're like, okay, so I'm going here, and he's gonna go here, and like something. It's just so, when you're stressed, it's so hard to think clearly and say, okay, if we're in this position and he's here, right, and I take here, like, what happens if he goes here? You know, I take and take. Is that good for me? Is that bad for me? Like, then this pawn is hanging, kind of. Like, this is kind of hanging. This is rough. I don't really like this. I'd have to go like this. My king is kind of open. Like, okay, maybe I just take back. And if he takes back this way, I take back this way, and we're okay. Right? Like, there's like a million different things you do. Like, oh, if I take back, and he takes back first, then I take back this way, and then he's going to take here, which is okay, because technically we're fine, and I can come here and go here, right? But, like, there's just so many, like, because also, what if I take back and he takes with his rook? Like, I had to think that through. Like, okay, so he takes with his rook, like, that's probably bad for him, but maybe not, because then I'm here, or if I take here, 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 and he takes this, and then, right, if I come up here, or if I move this, then, like, he can take with his rook. Right? There's just, like, a bunch of things to, like, constantly think about. And it can be very, very difficult to track everything. Especially, like, the future moves, like, oh, this is sitting here. Like, you notice it, but when you're in the process of thinking about all these other things like this, and, you know, if he goes here, you go here, like, you know, with this and this, you just forget about, like, simple shit. Like, oh, he can just check. Right? The other thing that I didn't notice was, yeah, like, me going D2 here, like, I probably should have gone here. Like, this was a better move, because it prevents all of this, but I didn't, right? But anyway, this was a lesson, an awesome lesson for me to learn, and it was really fun. Like, I really enjoyed it. So that was my game. I got blown off the board in 18 moves, but it was by a 1900, so I'm not really sad about it. I learned a ton, and it was really cool. And I'm gonna have 6 more games against people who are like 1700 plus. So to be a massive learning lesson. And this is why I said I need to work on my repertoire with black, because I ran into the Kali system and I was already lost. Like, literally already here. I had no idea what I was doing. I found the right move here and here. And I'm better here. But then I'm just lost. Completely lost. So I need to work on that black repertoire quite a bit. And the other option was to just go here, right? I mean, I could have just gone here and just taken a knight out. Come here and do what I initially wanted to. But anyway, not to go over and over it. It was a good game. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and that was cool. So thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Thanks for hanging out in Twitch. And yeah.